Well, guys, the NHS is now admitting the damage it has done by refusing to see and treat patients over the past 2 years. Here you can see the Telegraph literally stating this. The NHS has set aside £1.3 billion to cope with compensation claims arising from the pandemic, with claims for treatment delays, cancellations and misdiagnosis expected. Well, you can imagine my shock on that. The sum is more than double the previous year, and the report states that the main driver of the increase is the indirect impacts of COVID-19 delays, cancellations and misdiagnosis, reflecting longer waiting lists. Yes, they're now creating a compensation fund to pay for the negligence claims after its complete failure to fulfill its one and only reason for bloody existing. For 2 years, politicians convinced the public to forget that the sole purpose of this never-ending taxpayer money pit is to treat the general bloody public. Instead, it told us to stay away to protect the health service while some of its medical staff danced on TikTok. Yeah, that utter cringe fest should never be forgotten, as people were literally dying at home while they did that. Of course, the real blame lies at the feet of management and political tosspots because they run the show and caused it all. Now, this compensation being talked about relates to something I covered a while back when week after week excess death figures kept rising above the 5-year average. Since April, England and Wales has experienced more than 28,000 excess deaths unrelated to COVID, with heart problems, diabetes and cancer deaths rising significantly. On Monday, Steve Barclay, the Health Secretary, became the first government figure to openly acknowledge the issue. We must also be transparent coming out of COVID around excess deaths, he told the Spectator Health Summit. Well, we know that last bit there is bollocks because he ain't ever gonna be transparent about excess deaths or their bloody reasons. The adverse effects of the jab will be a massive elephant in the room that they'll ignore despite it being widely talked about everywhere else these days. This looks like an attempt to sweep it all up under the cost of lockdown policy that we know plays its part in excess deaths, but is not the only bloody cause. Now, it should also be said, even as the article does, that this £1.3 billion fund won't be enough for the amount of claims that's going to fly in, because the damage is still being done now. People are still waiting for treatment, with many likely to be waiting this time next year the way it's bloody going. This in itself should see criminal investigations started, because now they've admitted political policy has directly killed thousands of people at least. Heads should bloody roll.